Is there any further discussion on the resolution? Senator McBride.
I move to suspend the rules to vote on this resolution.
There's been a motion made by Senator McBride to suspend the rules for this resolution. Seconded by Senator Holscher. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, this will, all those in favor say by saying aye.
No.
That one will go to roll call? This moves to a roll call vote.
Knott.
Aye.
Lopez.
Aye.
Elmore.
Aye.
Plum. Elvidakis. Schumann.
Aye.
Rogers.
Aye.
Barton.
Aye.
Rio.
Aye.
Martel. McBride. Houghton.
Proxy.
Proxy.
Aye.
Rocher.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Cornelis.
Aye.
Holscher.
Aye.
Knight. Aye. Knudsen.
Aye.
Henning.
Aye.
Spillman.
No.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. Any further discussion on the resolution? Can I entertain a motion? Senator McBride.
Move to approve.
There's been a motion to approve made by Senator McBride, seconded by Senator Knott. Any discussion of the motion? Move on to a roll call vote.
Knott.
Aye.
Lopez.
Aye.
Elmore. Plum.
Aye.
Elvidakis. Schumann.
Aye.
Rogers.
Aye.
Barton. Rio. McBride.
Aye.
Houghton. Proxy.
Aye.
Rocher. White. Cornelis.
Aye.
Holscher.
Aye.
Knight.
Aye.
Knudsen.
Aye.
Henning.
Aye.
Spillman.
Aye.
Resolution passes.
Resolution passes. Get your gavel count.
Great. Ben, Paige, do you guys want to come to the front? We will have you take your oath of office, and then we'll have the full Senate. No, we still have graduate Senate. You have those filled out. Do you guys need pens? Yeah.
Thank you.
No. All right. Please raise your right hand and repeat the following. As a member of the Student Association Senate
Student Association Center
of the South Dakota School of Mines and Technology,
of the South Dakota School of Mines and Technology,
I state your full name,
I, Paige Dexter,
do hereby affirm
do hereby affirm
to uphold the office of Senior Senator,
to uphold the office of Senior Senator,
to abide by the Student Association Constitution,
to abide by the Student Association Constitution,
and to represent the Student Association
and to represent the Student Association
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. If you guys just want to pull up chairs, yeah, we've got lots of people on the side. It's awesome. Congrats. Okay, we'll move on to open discussion. Are there items?
Chair.
Yeah, Paige.
You can pull up
There's
one
a
of
chair
these.
literally right
She's
there.
leaving. She's leaving.
I think they have-
Open discussion. Are there items for open discussion today?
Okay. As many of you know, I sent out an email this morning regarding the discussion on funding religious organizations. I know we talked about this in the past, and this is a topic that hopefully, once we can sort of nail down exactly what the Senate's position is, we'll be able to create some language, and it will set a precedent that we can use going forward. So hopefully most of you had a chance to look at Board Policy 318, but to kind of go over the gist of it. The reason why this issue came up is we're talking about the Newman Club, and they're going to this conference called the SEED Conference, which has some pretty obvious language in sort of the definition of the SEED Conference that shows that it's a sort of a Christian conference, very heavily religiously affiliated. The board policy has some language that you could kind of go either way, depending on how you interpret it. So to kind of outline it, there's one section that says student organizations can receive disbursements to finance the organization's general operational expenses and to subsidize cultural, social, recreational, and informational activities. So that's pretty broad to interpret if the Newman Club wants to go to this conference, and that's sort of their operational expense. But then a little farther down it says no student organization will be eligible for student fee subsidies of its operating expenses if its predominant activities include sectarian ceremonies or exercises, and then it goes on some other things like ballot issues or financing, campus lobbying, or political activities, and so forth. So I guess I'd like to hear people's thoughts, and then after some discussion, we could maybe take like an informal vote and something like that.
Oh, sure.
What did you guys, I thought you brought it up at the student federation meeting.
We have not received anything.
You didn't get anything from any other schools?
No, well, because we were going to do it during open discussion, and then we kind of got derailed on that time.
Okay. You didn't, do you know other discussion, like any like other precedents at other schools?
No, but we will hopefully get messages from them about that.
I will follow up with a nice meeting group chat. So,
All right.
Yes. So, thanks, D-Man. So I also, D-Man reached out to the general counsel. There's a representative at the Board of Regents, and he responded. It was actually kind of interesting because his response really wasn't anything about the religious compensation. It was actually relating to funding groups to go off campus at all. And I understood where he was coming from, but it's kind of tough because if he actually was of the opinion that clubs shouldn't get funded for any activities outside the campus. But I could see how he could get that from it, but it was also, there was some gray area. That could be a separate conversation, I think, after this one.
I thought you were
Yeah,
always
I'm
continuing. Senator Knudsen.
So Ezra, I know we didn't talk about this previously at the last meeting, but you just mentioned we want to create a precedence here, and I know this conference happens every 2 years. Did we vote for it 2 years ago? Because wouldn't that just be a precedent already set on behalf of the students?
Yes.
No? Past records?
You're absolutely correct. We did fund the conference 2 years ago. I think that digging into the Board of Regents policy and really trying to create some language, because there hasn't been a lot of language about this in the SOAP Constitution. And so that's, I guess, what I mean by precedence, is like lay down some very clear and definitive language in the SOAP Constitution that specifies how we want to go going forward. And I don't think that's been done particularly up to this point.
Okay.
Senator Dexter. Senator Smith.
In previous years, SOAP has looked at religious organizations as not under the fact that they are religious, but are they all inclusive? So if a student who was of a different religion wanted to attend, could they? Because that's the issue we have in religious organizations is that they're inclusive or like they're exclusive, and that's where you get into issues with funding. And so with this conference, if they would allow students who aren't just of Christian faith to attend with them, and if they do allow that, then we could probably still argue that we should fund it. Like if a Jewish student wanted to go and see what it's about, and they were like, yeah, come with us, then why shouldn't we allow that?
Follow up? Sorry, okay, yeah, that is a good point. We could have that policy. However, we have to keep in mind that the student money is sort of everybody's money. And so from our perspective, we sort of have to be unbiased. If we're funding a group that would maybe be a controversial group or a group that other people would very much disagree with, and they wouldn't want to have any of their money going towards it. Because the student money you have to kind of think of as everybody's equal share. So that's sort of the question. Would we be able to decide, yes, even though it's everyone's money, you can go to some of these sectarian groups, as the board policy says, or should we try to make some of our own rules?
The Board of Regents policy wording was ceremony or ritual, is that correct?
Sectarian ceremonies or exercises.
Or exercises. So are there any like formal, like are you familiar with the content of the conference? Are there any formal, like do they have a service or do they have any ceremonies during the conference? Or is it purely just discussion and information?
Well, let's see. So, according to the SEEK website, it says it's a national conference whose purpose is to bring in all students to explore what they truly seek, to learn about faith, shared friendship, be encouraged in their unique vocation, and to experience the love, hope, and very real presence of Jesus Christ through this church. So, I don't know. It depends on how you interpret that, I guess.
Senator White.
Does the language say that so funding can't go towards anything related to the event or just towards paying for the event and not for like travel or food or anything else related?
It says eligible for student fee subsidies of its operating expenses. So, correct me if I'm wrong, I would think that was all inclusive to what you just stated.
It seems all inclusive.
Senator Robertson.
Sounds like it's going against our own constitution. Advancement. Religious.
Senator McLeod.
So I need some technical definitions. Sectarian just means has to do with a sect. The definition of a sect is a group of people with somewhat different religious beliefs, typically regarded as heretical from those of a larger group to which they belong. Kind of a weird word to use for general policy.
Senator Stewart.
So this would lead to discussion then if we're not gonna, so if we're gonna say that this could be something that the greater part of the population of our school disagrees with, then we'd have to start looking at like every club, right? So I could have a real issue with debate, right? That's arguing, right? So I mean, it's just gonna open up a brand new can of worms for the Senate if we wanna stop funding the Newman Club in this way, especially when we've previously done it, right? We set this precedent 2 years ago, and I think I was part of the subcommittee then. I remember discussing it, so.
Senator Robertson.
So, like, I still think this needs to look into this more. Just by saying that we've done it 2 years ago, the student body definitely changes, opinions change, and I mean, look at 2016 and look at 2018 now, like, so much has changed, especially like when it comes to like social and this kind of stuff. Now the real question is like, Board of Regents has one policy, which obviously we need to stick to, but then our constitution also has one, and this conference definitely doesn't fall under that with the 4 points that CFO outlined a little bit ago. It definitely goes against our constitution, maybe not the BOR.
Senator McLeod.
You just say that to me the language from the BOR policy seems more like to avoid funding something that's radical or something that's like, I don't know, I wanna say a cult, but then that's kind of like a term that can be used in different ways too. So in my opinion, I don't feel like this is something that's completely out there and strange, but I mean, I know to some students it could be, but to me, I don't think the Board of Regents policy would restrict us from funding this, in my opinion.
To give context as well, after it says activities involve sectarian ceremonies or exercises, promotion of candidates or ballot issues in general elections, or financing off-campus lobbying or political activities of non-students. So it's kind of giving a broad array of different functions. So,
Can I just ask for clarification as to what our SOAP constitution says about religion? Because all I'm familiar with is like the exclusive versus inclusive funding.
I just pulled up the Constitution now, and it says, currently it says, SOAP funds will not be allocated to organizations whose purpose is advancing or inhibiting political or religious viewpoints.
Senator White.
I think this leadership conference is not advancing any religious views. I think it would be beneficial to have students with leadership experience and training at campus.
My big question that comes up is if they did have the Minnesota name, would we be discussing this quite so early? Like if it was the weather club wanting to go to a leadership conference, would it be as big of a deal?
Senator Reel.
I think, I don't know, just being kind of my personal opinion, or my personal experience, like everybody that I really know, most of them are Christian and everything, so like we kind of have like a bias towards like letting this, or like allowing Christianity or whatever, like funding it or whatever. So I'm fine with that, and I think the majority of our school would be as well. But for those who aren't of the religion or who are atheist or whatever, we should definitely be open if we are going to be funding this in the future. We have to be open to funding other religions or whatever as well if we're going to be doing this. It'd be very, very good.
I'm sorry, if you want to follow up.
Yes, sorry, I was going to respond to your question. The Newman Club, specifically, the Newman Club is just a club, so we would fund them like any other. But it's this conference with the wording in sort of the purpose of the conference that raised these concerns.
So essentially you're saying if the weather club wanted to do this, it would still be a controversial issue because the conference is religious based.
Right, if Weather Club wanted to go to the C conference, we'd have the same conversation. Right.
I think that the diction of the Board of Regents policy is something that is not leaving a whole lot of area for like religious events to like take place. Like it's like any kind of like event or something like that. It feels like it's very specific and not wanting these things. Plus, like when you said that you talked to him and he said that he wasn't like behind like letting any groups travel off campus. I think that more of these decisions are like our own. Like the fact that we give them funding and stuff at all really like throws it down to us for our SOAP constitution. But I think ultimately that we have to have like agreement with the higher law like than ourselves, because like we can't change the Board of Regents policy. And I think that allowing them to have like their existence on campus is kind of like the idea that we're having with like inclusiveness and things like that. And I think that it's two very separate things, and we should model our sub-constitution off of this other thing. I say that we should change the wording maybe a little bit more to follow the diction of what the Board of Regents policy has to say. For the future, maybe we can fund this event and say that we're sorry that in the future we can't continue to fund this, so that they're not left hung out to dry. We change it for the future, and we try to make a very distinct cut between what we will or will not allow, because like exactly what Senator Veal was saying, I think that we have a lot of just, everybody's Christian, we're finding Christian things, we'll make exceptions for them, but I think that we should try to look more objectively.
Can you some answers?
Well, I was gonna see if maybe people were ready for a vote, but if people aren't aren't ready for a vote, I would like to ask to limit time to about 5 minutes, as I feel like some of the conversation is starting to repeat.
Second for the vote or the limiting discussion?
The new group.
Well, sure. Is there more discussion first? Just raise your hand if you have more to say. Okay. All those is there a second to, you seconded. All those in favor of limiting discussion to, you said 5 minutes, please state aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, Jake's got the time. Okay, Senator Provocai.
So, Jonathan, this is going against one of the points you brought up. It's like saying that every single state that has legalized marijuana should like criminalize it just because federally it's illegal. Well, the states definitely follow the under hierarchy federal law does is more looked at, but your state has every right to make a law. Similarly, we have every right to have a self-constitution, even though Board of Regents dictates our policies.
But are we like a federation with them, or is it something where they're like a direct power over us? Like the federal government and the state government operate a very ontological difference where they can both have like a sphere of power. I don't know if we really have that. I mean, I guess that would be my question. Do we have a co-federal spheres of influence with the state government or not?
Technically, what we're talking about are state funds. They're not necessarily the funds of the school funds. They're state funds and they're allocated. So, in that sense.
So, under that argument, we would have to, if it's excluding anyone, so then we would not be allowed to fund it. So if this conference were purely meant for Christians only, no one else, then we could not by any means fund that. However, if there is that gray space, then we can reasonably argue to fund it. So this is really going to come down to what we believe we should fund versus policy at this point. So this everyone's going to have their own opinion at this point, and that's what we're going to base our vote off of.
I would say because it does state that any student or all students can attend the conference, I don't think it would fall under the definition of sectarian. That's kind of like a small variant of definition.
I would agree with what Senator Friend said. I think that language in the Board of Regents policy is less restrictive than our language that we have in our constitution. So.
Steve O'Grady.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct. And so it's really more of we can make our own rules to some extent, I think, but we also have to abide with what the Board of Regents policy says. And so, with that being said, I think the real question is, should we, and we can do the vote now too if everybody's ready, should we fund religious events / activities? We could put it this way: should we fund, as a Senate, organizations who conduct religious activities and hold religious events?
I think we need to gauge more constituent opinion on this. We shouldn't be able to make decisions for every student's money. Even though we represent them, we haven't really gone out. Some of us might have, but not everybody has gone out and engaged their opinion. So if you want to take an informal vote, go for it, but you should have no reason to hold that accurate.
Okay.
Mike?
Well, instead of just saying, religious events, I would say religiously affiliated events. Okay. So this is a leadership conference that does have a religious connotation to it. There are religious representatives there, but I don't think it's purely religious.
Director.
And just so as you're thinking through this process, think big picture too. So for an example, say the Dalai Lama, for example, came and spoke to campus, or some figure out there that maybe the talk isn't related to, but there's that assumption to it. So based upon what your rules, would you allow, whether it was my office or groups of folks, to take some of that funding to bring that type of speaker to? It could be a bigger picture than what these groups may be doing as well.
So that's been 5 minutes. We will take an informal vote, but my recommendation would also be, as Senator Provocai said, to get constituents and to discuss this further next week. Okay.
My thought was that it's gonna go broad.
Yeah, sure. Elmer?
Those are the questions that you phrased for us to answer. I'm not sure. I feel like it's more broad than what you wanted to answer. So, would you repeat the question
Sure.
that you want us to vote on?
Yeah, and it is broad. I think we could narrow it down to several questions, and maybe we should do that next week. But as far as a broad question, as a sort of precedent, should we fund religiously affiliated events that are open to all students?
Okay. All those in favor, would you please raise your hand? Okay. All those opposed? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, one more comment. Would you guys like me to bring this up next week after you haven't had a chance to talk to
Senator Rocha.
constituents?
Yeah, and also
Okay.
can you send the details of the website of the conference? Because like
Sure.
the objectives of this specific conference matter a lot. Like whether
Yeah.
it's leadership, and also we need to evaluate what if they'll be bringing it back to campus or just keeping it for themselves. The knowledge they learned.
Roderick?
Can we get like clarification from like the student federation, or like maybe a better clarification from the board of regents before we discuss this again? Otherwise, I feel like we'll just be saying the same
I can reach out as well. Okay.
Thank you guys.
Items for open discussion on the same topic.
Same topic.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was just curious, like, what we fund for clubs like InterVarsity.
We do not, we fund, like food bank related things, but, not religious related. Is traditionally how that's been done.
Right. Obviously, it's impossible to police them to a perfect degree. But I did say at the SOAP hearings this year that we're only funding the items on their budget that are sort of generic, that aren't religious specific. So they do have a lot. They do a lot of like outreach and like social events. And he was very aware of that. He's like, we're aware of this. We are conscientious. We try to spend the money on those things. So they have their fundraising money that they spend where they like, of course. But
Sure. Okay, other items for open discussion. Senator Knudsen.
I was wondering if we wanted to talk about the forum that's going on tomorrow, or if that'll be discussed later
Sure,
on.
we can do it now. I mean, it's in my report as well, but the forum will take place at 3:30. It is only students and Dr. Rankin. That's Dr. Rankin called, that's why I left, sorry. But it will be, the only people from administration or faculty will be President Rankin, and it will be students only in there. For the most part, we'd like to keep it to ECE students. I would be okay with senators going, if that way you could inform your constituents. My guess is we're not gonna like check at the door, but we're going to try to keep it mostly ECE students. Senator Knudsen, quick.
Sorry, I was gonna mention, because I know a lot of people are requesting that their friends that are MEs or industrials that are in 301 go as well.
We have 100 chairs. We will have some standing room, but if it becomes too much, we will close.
Okay.
We'll make the call of
Is there
that.
a fire marshal?
Yes, we will make the call there. I do not have a fire marshal.
Okay.
Senator Elmer.
Do you know what the format will be, like, who's leading discussion, how that will work?
I have been instructed that it is going to be a dialogue, and it is from the student's perspective, it won't quite be 100% open mic. They have a plan, sort of, here's the issues, here is where we'd like, talk about solutions. That's what their main goal is. And I called Dakota right after it. That was what he said, is they want to discuss solutions. So that's the end goal. As for the exact format, I'm going to leave that up to them. So, Senator Vike.
You mentioned the time, but not the.
Oh, sorry, ballroom. 3:30, ballroom. Till 4:30 scheduled.
is Rajan going there?
He will not. Senator McBride.
Could we like get a show of hands or something, like if you're planning on going, so that
Sure.
we can make sure that it needs to be sent in there.
Please raise your
I
hand if
know
you
I won't be
plan
there.
on being. So, there'll be some.
Just so we know, there'll be people at the next meeting.
Right. Okay, anything else on that, Senator Knudsen? More questions?
Not unless there's more information that people have got.
No. Senator Powers.
More information. A certain ME professor said that he's digging his own grave. As mentioned.
Okay.
With the response he's gotten the first time, this is not good, and it shouldn't be happening at a university like ours. And
Yeah.
if students as customers are not happy, then it's just gonna keep on.
Senator Powers, really
Don't mention that in the minutes.
Oh,
Well, we didn't close this.
yeah.
Too much time.
Yeah, well, it's not for discussion here. Moving on for other items for open discussion. Senator Rhea.
Can I just have anybody like to share maybe share
Sure. Yeah, and again, I was also going to talk about that. So we had a good time. First of all, thank you for everyone who came. Does everyone want to raise their hand? Look at this. Look at all our shed people. And Brock went as well. We got there. We did some training on lobbying. We got to hear from some lobbyists. We heard from the executive director of the Board of Regents, as well as someone who works in the Board of Regents office. So we got some information on the bills. There was still some confusion on what exactly some of the bills meant for campus, specifically the gun-free zone signs. We heard a little bit of conflicting opinions on whether that would change concealed to carry on campus, but as an update to that, it sounds like that bill the sponsor is going to pull the bill because there's just not been a lot of support. So 2 of the bills that we were concerned about have since died. The only one that we had on our list that's still alive is the free speech bill, and the Federation's stance is against that currently because there is a lot of vague terms about what the university can do to limit the time, place, and reasonable manner, and the burden that it puts on the universities for liability and enforcement of the harassment. So the official Federation stance is against. There will be lobbying against it as well from the Federation standpoint. I believe that we voted 1 yes and 1 abstain for that vote. But it was great. I know we had a chance to speak with legislators and really see the process, which is always nice. We sat in on some committee meetings. If anyone else wants to share anything quick about SHED, go for it.
Before that, have you, D-Man or have you heard anything about the collective bargaining for faculty members? The bill on restricting collective bargaining.
Oh, I think that died too.
I don't believe it's died yet.
It didn't die, okay.
I think it's going to committee soon, or it might even be on the floor. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I just know SDSU talked to their faculty senate and asked for their opinion, and they are against it, and so they, as a senate, voted against it and supported their faculty, and then portrayed that to lobbyists. And so we thought that was a good thing to do, talking to them.
And Dr. Rice is the president of the faculty senate here, the chair, and so he's really keeping on top of that he'd be a good one to reach out to and say what's up. Yep.
I kind of wanted to bring that up in open discussion as well. Does anybody feel that we should have a member on faculty, or not on faculty senate, but that attends meetings and just keeps up discussion with the faculty?
We've reached out to give you an update on that. They have invited us. I know you actually went. I didn't go that time. They deal with a lot of issues that they don't feel students should be privy to yet, and so that was their reasoning for not. Because I was hoping to establish a non-voting someone to sit there during meetings, but it's in the realm.
In the past, that's how it's always been. If we ever ask them to come to meetings, they say you're more than welcome to come to the meetings at the beginning, say what you want to say, and we ask that you leave. So it's always kind of like that.
Anything else on that? Okay. Senator McBride?
Just one of the things from SHED was quite a few of their senates took official votes, and each senate had like an official stance, and that was how they voted in the student federation meeting. That's something we can keep in mind for next year.
Yeah, and we usually do informal votes as a Senate for that. We don't pass resolutions typically like other schools do, but we have taken informal votes on bills before.
But that is, I mean, if we decide as a Senate that we want a formal resolution to take a week.
We just need to plan ahead a little bit more if we want to do that next year. Anything else on Shed? Go ahead.
Just one thing I was gonna throw in on that, I think that like during shed time, that it's like feasible to do that, but if we like were ever to actually make resolutions for like all legislation coming by, I think that's actually just kind of pointless, because if we're not gonna specifically go there and talk to them, it's us sitting here waving our hands saying they should do this doesn't make any sense, in my opinion.
Passing it along that you have taken a stance does put some sway because it shows students are involved, but I do hear what you're saying. Do you have something?
Yes, I would like to just request to put in the GR transition report to research and look at bills, say, a month prior to Shed, if that's feasible, and start that conversation of whether or not we should have a vote on this.
And it sounds like one of the things that the changes to Federation that they're looking is to have it in there that the either the chair or the executive director may be responsible for finding bills that relate to schools and sending them just for information. So Nick needs.
I was just gonna ask, did the forum the week before you guys went, did that bear any fruit? Was
Yes,
there any
we
discussion?
had student responses, both written and we talked with students for a while. I would say throughout the night 10 maybe came in,
Okay.
if that, but we had good discussion with the students.
Would that be something for GR to do annually, or was
I think
that
so.
not maybe big enough?
No, I think so. I think it didn't cost us anything. So.
And it's only as big as you make it.
One thing that did come out of Shed is talking to USD. They currently have a non-voting student member on their city council, and I'm reaching out to the mayor's office to see if there's interest on that front. So, just so you know. Anything else on Shed? Anything else for open discussion? Seeing none, we'll move on to CFO report.
Okay. Hey guys, thanks for all the input. I think that was super helpful. So I appreciate that. I have a really short report today. There's really not much else happening in the finance world. We're still discussing the GSS supplemental request that we got last week or the week before. And so we're gonna have a decision on that probably by next week. Also next week, we'll be hearing from Rocker Days Committee, Cultural Expo Committee, and SEP for their GAF requests. End of report.
Questions for finance?
I thought everybody hated those. I can bring those back if popular opinion wants me to bring them back. I've got loads of
Other
them.
questions for finance? Senator Elmore.
What a percentage.
Okay, questions for finance? None. Jake, what do you have?
Okay, so everything pretty much from Shed and all that has been covered. Next week, concert committee will be coming in to present to Senate finally. I know I've been saying that for a few weeks. So please get hyped, professionally hyped. What are you shaking? Alright. Also, I sent out the picture of the survey center expansion, and if you guys do have any other opinions or that has been taken into account. If you have any other opinions on design or like furniture or setup or student feedback, let me know, and please do that quickly because the architect is going to have like final drawings by mid-March. So yeah. So any other opinions on that, let me know. But that's unless there's questions. That's everything.
Questions for Vice President? Okay. I don't have a whole lot because we covered a lot in open discussion. One-on-ones, please make sure that you have updated the drive. I'm probably going to email you guys if you have not by next week, so please do that. Appointing positions, Brooke Long reached out to me about graduate this graduate senator position, not her being interested, but she wanted details to send to graduate students. I'm going to reach back out to her because I'm hoping that we'll have someone who's interested, if not her, because I think she'd be very good. And then just an update, Provost Couros will be here next month after spring break. Questions for me? Anything I'm forgetting? Anything that needs to happen? Amanda, do you have a key to the Senate office? Okay, we will take care of that. Same with Paige and Ben. You have F drive access, right?
I do have a key, but I'm offended.
So you don't need a key? Senator Olson.
Did we fill out like a when is good on the Transformation Center
Yes, we did.
committee like a while ago?
Yes, and there was not a date. Yes, I'll get back to you. Thank you. Yes. So we will be meeting. We can talk. What I'm actually waiting for is there's more presentations. They're doing One Heart, which is the Transformation Center thing, is doing them next week, and so I'm kind of waiting to see where those go because I'm going to attend at least one of them and see what's changed. They aren't asking for a lot of input right now, but I think that it's important that we still meet. So yeah,
I'm not antsy or anything.
No,
It's just you asked if you're forgetting anything.
yes,
so
I am forgetting that. Thank you. Anything else for me? Senator McBride?
You have a time and date for those meetings next week?
I don't. Oh wait, for the One Heart presentation?
Yeah.
It's like the 20th and the 20th, 21st. I'll find them and I'll let you know before the end of the meeting. Welcome, new senators, old senators. No, as we're kind of getting towards the end of the year, I'm really glad to have had the group that we've had. I think we've made a lot of progress. We've grown a lot as a team, and I really do hope that you know how thankful I am for that. If you guys want my job, take it. There are petitions down in Lower Surbeck SDLC. With that, if there's no questions, we'll move on to committee reports. Constitution.
We are working with AWG and then another geological club, I can't remember their name right now, and Rocker Card. And that's it.
Questions for Constitution? No one wants to know what a rocket car is?
I would like to know what
See
a
if-
rocket
okay.
car is.
Rocker Card.
Oh, never mind. Rocker car.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. Do you know what that is? Okay. Senator Cornelius.
It is a car club for car enthusiasts. From what I can tell, they're going to go up to like places where they have car shows. I do not know the details. I just know the kid who's trying to start it up.
Thank you. It's not quite as cool as I thought.
Any questions for Constitution besides that? No? We will move on to, I don't know, GR? Yep, GR.
Alright, GR has not met yet. We moved our meeting for Thursday because a couple members were at Shed and I was kind of want to give them a little break. But other than that, they'll just be working on the presidential elections. For our debate, we'll be setting that up and questions and stuff, we'll be laying that out. That's about all with me.
Questions for GR? If you guys know of anyone who you think would be good in this leadership position, encourage them to run. I really think that having a strong contested election is beneficial to the student community. So think about that. No more questions for GR? Move on to PR.
Hi everybody, happy Valentine's Day. No one said that yet.
Oh man, good call. Because we're all sorry, bring it in, guys. Kate.
Oh, okay. So PR said was happening on Monday, so we didn't meet. So we are just gonna meet next week, and until then, posters is basically our main goal. Taking down the open forum posters from last week and putting up our records.
Questions for PR? None? Okay, SA.
The original Common Board will be back on request. Senate update email was supposed to be sent out, but due to shed, will be sent out later this week or before next meeting for sure. And I am setting up a meeting with Kevin Price. Still waiting for him to respond. I've already got in touch with him. So we'll be meeting him. Once we get on the same page, we'll be meeting with Dr. Simonson. So we can start those scholarships up, get those dollars. End of report.
Questions for SA? No? Ad hoc? Any ad hoc campus things? We met as a ECE, but basically everything we've said is all that we can cover. Transformation Center will meet. No campus or ad hoc committees. Does everybody know who their campus or ad hoc committees are, save for Spillman and Penning and Senator Prowse?
The RMAC coordinator is actually coming down on Thursday. That's
Are you
all I
meeting with
know
him?
from SAC.
Okay. With that, we'll move on to upcoming Senate business. Forums tomorrow. Please, if you have the chance, go. I think that this is a hot topic on campus, and as senators, if we're trying to promote ourselves as a student resource, we need to make sure that when students come to us, we are being a resource. And I think that we've done a good job so far, but we just need to stay on it. So that's important. Beyond that, meeting next week. So please be there. Any other upcoming Senate business?
No upcoming Senate business, but I just want to clarify, ask a question about the EC. I know we discussed that they were going to give a written document.
They sent me what they had. It's rough.
No, I'm talking about like an actual letter to the administration. Did they do that?
Have you seen anything?
I'm not.
I think that they are composing it for tomorrow. They're basically going to read it. Is what I understand.
Yeah.
Director Hadley?
No, that's just my
Upcoming Senate business? Do you have something there?
Is there any more Senate morale in that? So, like, you guys have ideas?
Oh,
for
shout
it?
out to everyone who went bowling last week because it was awesome. Let's go bowling. Senator Knudsen.
So one upcoming morale event is going to be Secret Santa. It's a little ways off, but it's going to be upon us faster than
I don't know what we're going to do with Ed leaves.
Skype them in.
Okay, but if you guys have ideas for Senate morale events or you want to get together and hang out with senators, please either just do it or hit me up and I will help you do it. Senator Biden. Bowling was fun. I'm not going bowling tonight, I have homework, but you can go bowling. Other upcoming Senate business. Moving on to announcements, Director Headley.
So bowling next Thursday night, 15 at Robbinsdale.
There you go.
SALC sponsoring. So a couple things next week. So Wednesday from 11 to 2 is the first annual PDI Professional Org Showcase in the ballroom. So several of the professional orgs will be talking about what they do, where they're wanting to go on campus, and be a part of that. So I encourage you. The other thing, and we talked about this a little bit last week, the PDI conference is on the 24th. I plead with you to register. I have almost 50 spots left to sponsor.
When's the last thing?
So I will pay for it. Wednesday will be the cutoff, so I will pay your $5 to go. You get free lunch, and Terry Rasmussen from Newport is the keynote speaker. So please sign up via Minds link and attend the conference. Okay.
Any other announcements? Senator Providicide. No, we are in announcements. Any other announcements? Okay, I would entertain a motion. Is there a motion? Senator Reel. Is there a motion?
Wait, what's
I heard it. Second. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor? State by saying aye. Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thanks, guys. What?
Really cut off when he first started it. I was like, I was seeing his face, just seeing my right. I was like, you know what, it's fine. To be fair, last week I did that with a lot of.
That was actually, I was.
Okay, but like when I came to the potluck and you guys remember that corner we ate Swedish fish loudly and Aaron yelled at her.
She had a very enjoyable.
You know, gotta enjoy it while we're here.
I should be able to
Okay. I can probably. I don't work on Mondays anymore. So we have.
Sorry.
So I can come to you.
Last email.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
No, I have time to talk to you. We're everything's booked.
It was a little bit less.
Yes, he just called me. Sam, can you scan this scan?
Yeah, sure. I was gonna
Alrighty, see you later.
No idea. But you need stuff in my car.
Oh, I do need.
Are you heading out right now?
I can.
Well, do you have a test?
I need to.
You want it. Back.
Because that's what I've done before, like one time someone wanted like.
No, no,
stand
fine.
in the salad area, so I just,
Okay, I was like,
In no rush, I'll just.
sorry, I typed in my.
I don't get it.
Awesome.
So sometimes we can work on that, yeah.
Are we done streaming? Are we still?
Yo.
I'm gonna give you my number.
Ari, do you want to shut the stream up?
Have anybody watching us today?
Oh, I don't know.
Go backwards, because I was.
Ah.